Yo, what's up? My name is Petroski, and it's currently the 24th of November, I believe the day before Thanksgiving. And today I wanted to go ahead and record my AMA video answering all of the questions you guys asked me. So around 10 days ago, I put out a video thanking you guys for 2,000 subscribers and telling you to ask me anything. And I would answer all of those questions to the best of my ability in a future video. And here's that video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first question is going to be, will you play the Gen 4 remakes, which actually just came out recently? My answer to that is going to be no, unfortunately. Honestly, it's so hard for me to go back to any Nintendo-made game after playing PokeMMO that, frankly, they just aren't as good in my opinion. I really prefer PokeMMO comparatively to any cartridge Pokemon game or any traditional Pokemon game. I think it's just so far and above the rest, and I've always loved MMOs, and I really think this is kind of the game for me, and I don't see myself splitting my time between PokeMMO and any other traditional Pokemon game anytime soon. What's your real name and where do you live? A little bit of a funny question back to back, but my name is Patrick and I live in the state of Maryland in the US, and I love it here. I love Maryland. What other games do you play and will you make videos on them in the future? Question mark. I've definitely considered making videos on other games in the future, although I've definitely been a little worried and hesitant, as any YouTuber would be, about how my audience would react. So if you guys do like that idea or are okay with it, let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate that feedback. As for some of the huge games in my life that I would consider making videos on, some of those games could be old school RuneScape, Overwatch, Skyrim, Fallout New Vegas, and Minecraft. I also play a decent amount of PS2 games, and I do have a capture card for that. I actually picked up a cheap PS2 console during the pandemic, and I've been playing a bit of that since. I picked up things like Guitar Hero 3 recently, and SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottoms. I know that's a cool speedrun game. I actually do speedrun SSX Tricky. If anyone's aware of that game, that's by far my favorite PS2 game, and I do have some speedruns up on this channel if you want to dig back and look for those. Really, really incredible, cool game. Highly recommend it. If you know SSX Tricky, let me know in the comments below, and I'd be very impressed. Alright, someone asked, what other things can I do in PokeMMO after finishing all of the storylines? And this is a really good question, and I actually did make a video on this, which I'll try to remember to put the link in the description. But in short, shiny hunting, PvP, money making, and socializing while kind of participating in events and trying to find a team to join are some of the most common playstyles and things that people do in game. But I think this question brings up a really interesting point, because PokeMMO has a ton of casual players that end up quitting after beating all of the storylines and have a real issue and real trouble transitioning into the late or post game. And I really try to focus a lot of my content on bridging that gap between storylines and post-game grinding to try to help this beautiful game retain more long-term players, because I think it's something that the game kind of has an issue with naturally, and I'd really like to, help aid in that and really be a bridge in that effort. Alright, someone else asked how to not get bored on PokeMMO. So how do you not get bored in PokeMMO? This is a great and fair question. I'm a big MMO grinder, so I know what it's like to grind a game for 10 hours a day for 4 years in a row. I've done that on old school RuneScape. My best advice to not burn out on PokeMMO or really anything in life is to activity hop. Continuing to do the same main thing, meaning whatever hobby or game you're playing, but swap around activities within that game or whatever activity it may be. So for example, I'll shiny hunt for only 2 hours at a time, then go catch Dittos for 2 hours, then go set up breeders in my PC for an hour, then go check the GTL for flips for 30 minutes. There's tons of options in PokeMMO in most games or things or whatever you're grinding in life. Also take the time to go do something inefficient every once in a while. Sometimes when I get really bored / burnt on PokeMMO, I'll grab my catching Smeargle and a sweet scent Pokemon out of my PC and just randomly run around the PokeMMO world and just kind of discover things and just sweet scent in random areas that I would never normally travel to, or run in grass that I would never normally run to, and just catch Pokemon that I would never normally encounter. And it's surprisingly refreshing. I think that's a really good secret tactic. Also, simply taking a break from the game for 1 to 2 hours or whatever you're grinding in life, taking a quick break for an hour or two, and then coming back can feel totally reinvigorating and be an absolutely huge mental reset. All right, next question. Who / what got you into playing PokeMMO? So I always loved Pokemon and I always loved MMOs. And as a kid, I would actually constantly Google, like, looking for new games. I was always looking for the next game to play. I could never really stick to a game. And PokeMMO was one of the first games that I really stuck to. I remember Googling Pokemon MMO probably like once a day for like months. I would always just Google Pokemon MMO, like see what was coming up, see what was new, see what was out. And I had played a couple different Pokemon MMOs that like weren't very good and like were browser based, and like I really didn't enjoy them. But then I finally found PokeMMO, obviously, and that's just kind of how I found it. That's how I stuck with it. There were some like not very good Pokemon MMOs in my opinion back in the day. Things like Pokemon Planet, and there's some other stuff. Pokemon World Online, I believe, was another one. I really didn't like them personally, but yeah. There was actually another Pokemon MMO type game back then that I always really wanted to play, but I couldn't because it didn't have an English translation. And if anyone knows the game that I'm talking about, I'd be extremely impressed. It was an extremely niche game, back around maybe 2010, maybe. It was called Pokemon Ragnarok, and I believe nowadays it's called Pokemon Row for Pokemon Ragnarok Online. It was like a Ragnarok copy. For those who don't know, Ragnarok is another very old RPG, point and click kind of style MMO that I really appreciate. But Pokemon Ragnarok was basically that, and it was really cool. I think it's actually a totally dead game now. I think it has 0 players online as of the last time I checked, but I was always really interested in that game, and I couldn't really play it, unfortunately. Alright, who/what inspired you to create YouTube videos/stream? So, for those who don't know, I've actually been streaming as far back as 2014. I actually was a really eccentric kid, and I used to stream PokeMMO back in the day. I would actually do 75-hour long streams, like a lot. I would consistently do 75-hour long streams and shiny hunt for Hoppip on stream. I fell asleep many times on stream. It was crazy, hilarious times. I was probably around 14 or 15 years old, and one of the first streamers that I remember watching was actually a streamer who's nowadays is known as Tushi. He's like a pretty well-known streamer nowadays. He's one of the first ones that I ever watched. He streamed World of Warcraft back in the day, but nowadays I think he streams speed runs and like Yoshi games and Mario stuff. And I think he also has the record for the longest streak of streaming once a day on Twitch, which is crazy. I think he streamed every day for like 3,000 days or something insane. But I used to watch him stream. His name back then was known as Cloaked Yoshi, I believe. I used to watch him stream World of Warcraft back in 2013, but it was funny because I actually didn't even play World of Warcraft, but I still watched him. That was my inspiration for streaming, but as for YouTube, a Pokemon Go YouTuber named Pokedex actually really inspired me to start making videos. I was never a huge YouTube dude, but his work ethic and growth were insane and something that I respected a ton. He really worked really hard and put in a ton of effort and put out 2 videos every day, like a ton of videos. And the reason I stopped streaming or tried to transition from YouTube is kind of tied into this and pretty important. After many years of streaming, it became really anxiety inducing, and I was always worried about clicking the go live button, which is a much lesser issue on YouTube, thankfully. And I really needed a break, and I thought YouTube might be the perfect solution. I can still create content, interact with people, but in more controlled chunks, as opposed to a constant raw live stream, It's much easier to get through a bad day, like a bad mental health day on YouTube. You can simply record less, or record when you're feeling up to it, or look for those spurts throughout the day where you do feel up to it. But on a live stream, it's all natural, and when you're trying to push through a live stream when you feel horrible, it's one of the most like gut-wrenching, depressing feelings in the world. And I've never been one to fake my emotions, so yeah, I was not a fan of that at all personally. So I think YouTube's just a perfect medium to where I can, work really hard on the days that I feel really good and kind of overwork and be ahead on schedule. Like right now, I think I'm like 9 days ahead of schedule. I'm very ahead of schedule right now on videos. I have around 18 videos scheduled and ready to be released, which is incredible, and it's awesome. So I can have those days off where things are going so well, and I can also take holiday breaks, but I usually don't take too many breaks. So anyways, Okay, and on to the next question. What other games do you play besides PokeMMO and RuneScape? I kind of answered this question earlier, but I thought I might answer it in a more direct way, in a more direct list, because I know this question is going to get asked a ton, it's a really good question. But the main games I kind of play or have played in my life that have played a huge role in my life are Overwatch, SSX Tricky. Those are probably the two main games that I'm the most active in right now. There's a ton more games that I want to talk about that mean a lot to me that I always kind of come back to. Some of those games are going to be Skyrim, Fallout New Vegas, Guitar Hero 3, Magic the Gathering, the card game, Dungeon Defenders. If you know Dungeon Defenders, let me know in the comments. That'd be very cool. GTA 5, Minecraft, and then Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 was actually my favorite COD, which I played a ton of back in the day. There's a ton of other games I could list here, like Terraria or Team Fortress 2. There's a ton of other like mentionable games, but I wanted to kind of keep it to a bit of a shorter list. But I've played a ton of video games in my lifetime, and those are just some of the most important to me. All right, one of my favorite questions: how did you get your username? And I get this question a lot, and I honestly never get sick of answering it. So people often think I'm Russian or German or something because of it, which is funny. But I actually got the name from a children's book where little green monsters were disguising themselves as children and sneaking into human schools to try to get a chance to learn. A really, really cute concept looking back. But one of the characters' names was Petroski, who was just a little green monster trying to learn. Next question, what's your ultimate goal for this channel? What do you want the channel to look like in the future? Great question, and honestly, I don't have much of a clue besides being able to play video games, interact with people, hopefully adding a positive influence to their life in some way. But I've never been one to plan for the future. I'm all about just kind of doing what I do and roll with the punches and just trying to have fun along the way. All right, next question. Are you maxed in old school RuneScape? Thanks for giving me a chance to flex. Yes, I actually have a maxed main account, and I was also the 74th person in the world to max an ultimate Iron Man account. What is your favorite type of cloud? Oh yeah, I definitely know this and didn't have to do a little bit of Google and researching for this one. But after a little bit of research, I'd probably say the Cirrus or Cirrocumulus. I assume that's how you say those. Those are some pretty dope clouds. How many hours do you have on all of your PokeMMO accounts combined? This is an interesting question. My main account has the bulk of the hours by far. I'd probably only add around 300 hours for all of the other alt accounts, even though I have so many. I'd probably say around 3,700 hours total at the time of this recording, which is pretty rookie numbers compared to some of the other PokeMMO veterans, and especially compared to my RuneScape hours. Do you ever get burnt out making 2 or more videos a day, and if not, how? I won't lie, some days are really hard and my brain feels absolutely toasted at the end of them, but some days I'm turbo motivated and can make 5 videos in a day and be super happy about it. I think it's all about training and being used to pushing yourself past your limits, but I've also never been a person to know how to relax or sit down really, so constantly moving or working is pretty good for me. Do you ever plan to start live streaming? I used to only live stream, for a long time, but it hurt my mental health a lot in the long term. I plan to work it back into my schedule healthily at some point. So yes, absolutely. Something like 1 to 2 streams a week would be ideal eventually. When and how did you get into Pokemon? That's a good question. Honestly, really hard to recall. I think it was a mixture of watching the show as a kid, plus I really liked the trading card game. I've always been really, really attracted to trading card games. I always loved collecting. And yeah, I just always loved trading card games growing up. What was your favorite Pokemon game? Pokemon Fire Red is still my favorite to this day, but I also liked Black and White a lot. Those are definitely my 2 favorites for sure. I actually haven't played that many of the traditional Pokemon games. I believe this is shocking, the only traditional Pokemon games I've played on cartridge, I think, are Fire Red and Leaf Green, Black and White. I played a little bit of Platinum, but I don't even know if I beat the storyline. And then I beat the storyline for like Pokemon Y, X and Y. But yeah, that's it. I never played like Emerald or a lot of like the classics that people love. I got into Pokemon on Fire Red. I think I got gifted a Game Boy and Pokemon Fire Red when I was very young on Christmas, I believe. I don't know if it was Christmas or a birthday, but something like that. Someone asked, why is your facial hair better than mine? I'll take this as an incredible compliment, and I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I actually never grew my facial hair before meeting my current girlfriend because I just assumed I couldn't grow it well because no one in my family really can genetically. But my girlfriend convinced me to give it a try, and I've come around to it, and I kind of like it now. What other games / hobbies, etc. are you into? Great question. I've always loved trading card games. I loved playing Magic the Gathering decently competitively. My favorite format was Legacy. I love the depth and possibilities and complexities, but I also hate the cost of that format. I also used to love sports a lot as a kid, and I still kind of remain a little bit of that. I'm a huge Baltimore Ravens fan, if you know football. For basketball, I'm actually a huge Denver Nuggets fan, and they're good this year. That's pretty cool. They've been good recently, so that's pretty cool. And then for baseball, I'm a Chicago White Sox fan. I also love knitting. I've actually been knitting since I was around 16. I knitted for pretty heavily for between 16 to 18, and then took a break for a couple of years, and then picked it up around the pandemic. So I've been knitting again and having a lot of fun with that. I also used to be super into kind of the 3 Ps, psychology, philosophy, and politics, but I've since distanced myself from that because it can be a bit of a toxic and really mentally draining field. Next question. Do you have any tips for someone who is trying to get the Pokedex complete with OT Pokemon only? This is a really good question. My best advice for this is be on the lookout for Phenos and Phenomenon Pokemon. Those are going to hold some of the rarest encounters that will be kind of out of your control, and you want to be kind of getting those whenever you can. You can't just go out and encounter an Alamola whenever you want. It has to be from a Pheno, so it's important to take advantage of those when the opportunity arises. Will you host your own PokeMMO events in the future? I'd really like to. It's really hard because I'm so drained on time, but it sounds really fun. I would love to do some sort of meme catch event or tournament. I'm really interested, especially interested in a monotype tournament. So wink, wink, maybe build a monotype team, but don't count on it being a tournament anytime soon, but maybe theorize or start working on one if you're interested. Someone asks, by chance, do you know if PokeMMO will ever add newer gens to their game? This is a really good question. I don't know, of course, but I personally think they will look for a way in the future. Implementing the newer games will be a serious hurdle for sure. I assume since the next gen games are on 3DS and the Switch, so I don't know how easy it is to port all those graphics and just the code in the games. I have no idea how difficult that might be, but I think if they really want to, they can find a way. People are really skeptical about PokeMMO devs being able to implement the 5th gen due to the 3D graphics and the bridges and a lot of those mechanics, but they managed to do it pretty seamlessly, it seems. So I wouldn't be surprised if they found a way. All right, but I think that covers everything. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys taking the time to get to know me. That's unbelievably kind and sweet and really thoughtful. So I really appreciate you listening through all of this. If you like this video, go ahead and like it. Subscribe for more PokeMMO content. I believe only around 36% of my audience is subscribed, so go ahead and click that if you're interested. Go ahead and click the Discord link below and all the playlist links if you're searching for more PokeMMO content, but mainly I just want to use this time to say thank you. I just put out my AMA video thanking you guys for 2,000 subscribers around 11 days ago, and I'm currently at around 2,400 subs, so I don't know. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. The growth has been insane, and I really hope that my videos and all of my time put into you guys is worth it, and I hope you guys find me taking your time to be worth it. I hope my videos are good enough to be worth your guys' time. Anyways, have an absolutely incredible day. Peace and love from Petroski.